Welcome back to World Crisis Radio, Webster Tarpley, Washington, D.C. Now let's look at some domestic politics in our two remaining segments here. The Obama State of the Union address, I think a flat pedestrian hack job. We were promised this fighting, class-conscious, populist tone. Just about none of that came through. The goal, of course, Obama's real goal is to dupe his base. He's got to keep the left liberals a little bit happier than they've been. But mainly his appeal is to those fussy, Malthusian, austerity-minded independents, right? The kind of people you hear on National Public Radio, basically, sort of centrist oligarchs, and they're the people who admire them. Independents. What can we say about independents? Dante had a word for the independents. When you had the battle between Lucifer and his angels and Christ and his angels, the people who were neutral, there were some. Those were wretches who were never alive, and their punishment in the inferno, they're in the vestibule, they're condemned to follow a flag for all eternity because you never followed a flag, you never picked up a cause in your own life. You're condemned to do it in death. But in the middle of all this, one thing I would point out, an offer to the Republicans, repeated once again by Obama with consummate cynicism. He says, I still want to make a grand bargain with the Republicans to reform Social Security. It means, when he says reform Social Security, he means destroy it. Reform it means cut it, destroy it, let it wither on the vine, set it up for destruction, do whatever he can do to bring it down. And you notice the difference now. A Republican getting up there would come with ferocious rhetoric. We're going to destroy Social Security because it violates the free market and the Austrian and Chicago schools. Obama's method, much more subtle and perhaps much more effective. So Obama has learned absolutely nothing. And he's still focused on this Social Security payroll tax. He wants to cut the Social Security payroll tax. We had even Bernie Sanders and others coming on with this, saying this is a very bad idea. You should never have gotten Social Security mixed up with the general budget. The terrible mistake, not a mistake, it's a strategy to destroy it. Bernie Sanders was the only one. Ed Schultz was saying, hey, don't you think Obama stood up for Social Security? And Bernie Sanders had to say, no, not in the least. He's basically telling us, he's telegraphing what the second term will be like. He's going to try to stab us in the back if he gets reelected. Now, of course, people ask me, well, what's the solution? Look, people, I urged primary challenges to Obama with every broadcast and every time I could, and we don't have it. We have a couple of protest vehicles like Darcy Richardson. That's fine, but this is not going to stop Obama. So I don't know what the answer is, or better yet, I do know that the answer is not to be found in the immediate electoral framework. But noticeable also in Obama's State of the Union, it certainly would be a topic for a State of the Union to say, I am shocked and appalled by reactionary governors in Wisconsin, in Indiana, in Ohio, in these other states, Michigan. These reactionary governors are doing basically two things. They're trying to destroy trade unions. Some of them start with public sector workers, some of them like Mitch Daniels, who gave the response. That union buster, he wants to destroy all unions. To destroy unions is a step towards totalitarian dictatorship. You can't get out of it. Rand Paul, I'm sorry. Your attack on trade unions is a step towards totalitarianism, and it obviates all the rest of the stuff you say about you're supposedly against dictatorship. The main bulwark against dictatorship are mass organizations, and unions are the first among them. And maybe you don't like them or like that fact, but there it is. And the Austrian school, be damned, the Austrian school and its followers had better go back to Austria one of these days. So Obama could have said, I want to support the working people of Wisconsin, Michigan, Indiana, Ohio. He could also say in a lot of these states, reactionary Republicans are trying to make it harder to vote. And this is these are constitutional issues, too. In Michigan, for example, you could argue that Snyder, with his law to take over the government of various cities, above all Detroit, where he'd like to do it. This violates the commitment of the federal government to make sure that each state has a Republican form of government. That's in the Constitution. And if you go in there with essentially little dictators, right, little Hitlers, we might call them, the commissars that Snyder would send to run Detroit and other cities, you don't have a Republican form of government. Now, Obama, you should address that. This is anything but a fighting speech. Now, we had a couple of Republican debates in Florida. The big question is Newt going up against Mitt Romney. So this is another one of these Hobson's choices. It's bad enough to have to pick the lesser evil. It's even worse when you can't. It's not very clear which one is the lesser evil, right? Because they're so far down in the lower inferno that it's hard to distinguish them. Everybody said Newt Gingrich was supposed to be attacking Romney, but now he pulled all his punches. Well, was he threatened? Was he bribed? Is there a conspiracy? God knows what. Big barrage of well-heeled establishment Republicans saying they don't like Gingrich. And, of course, Gingrich, the content of these debates are Gingrich and Romney attempting to pander to Paul and to win over his supporters, because they figure that after Florida, the Paul voting results in Florida likely to be less than 10%, because frankly, there are a lot of retirees there. It's like South Carolina. People who owe their lives to Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid in their present form are not likely to take this leap into the abyss of the free market and the crash of 1921 and the Austrian school and all these other bromides offered by Paul. We're also told now, constant chattering coming from William Crystal, the Weekly Standard, and other neocon circles, there should be a brokered convention. Well, General Petraeus, likely or possible beneficiary of a brokered convention, is in the news again. Remember, we had that book called The Operators by Hastings with General Petraeus's uniform on the front. Now, here's the Washington Post-style section, Monday, January 23rd. Big front page review here of a book called All In by Pamela Broadwell. And here the story is Petraeus wanted to keep more forces in Afghanistan, and Obama wouldn't go along with it. So Petraeus has this mentor, Jack Keane. You've probably seen him. He's a television strangelove. He's been on the TV, always clamoring for more aggression and more attacks. Keane asks Petraeus, I believe, at some point, why don't you quit? Right? Why don't you resign and make a public protest against Obama selling out your forces? And Petraeus says, no, I don't want to do that. The troops can't quit. Well, it's clear. This is General Petraeus, right? Petraeus in this case means that General Petraeus was more interested in getting a nice appointment to be head of the CIA so that he could put together this Bonapartist coalition, right? You need to have the CIA people and the intelligence community on the one side and the Pentagon and everybody over there. That's how you can have an authoritarian dictatorship, right, if you want to. You don't want to rule through the Congress. You want to rule through these power ministries and verticals of power. So he stayed in. So Petraeus constantly in the middle of attention. Back in a second on World Crisis Radio.